It's probably doing less res, and it's not dealing with audio from the microphone or any of that stuff. It's just, I don't know.
Straight straight to phone. Okay,
Yeah,
that's good.
and using phone data.
We are on.
Yes, we are.
Hello, hello.
Dude, one way or
Number
the other,
no, three.
we're gonna make a damn capture,
Yeah, first time.
and it, and
First
it
time.
might be crap.
It probably will be a little bit. I am. You were asking how I was
Yes.
the first time. I am garbagey. I was just. I'm on an antibiotic. I had after my infusion, another infusion of rituximab. I got again dual ear infections, so I think that's, and I've got some
Bloody
sores in
hell.
places I don't want to talk about. Uh, so having my immune system down for so long, I am also 10 milligrams of a gummy and several bong hits into my day, just to kind of get over my crap feeling, that
Woo!
achiness. So I feel like crap, and I'm high, and I'm tired, and I was on the phone this morning with the air conditioner guys. Another $8,000 is going towards a new air conditioner.
Oh,
Yay!
damn. Well, you got to stay
It
cool in
rained.
Florida.
Yeah, it rained last night and today, so of course the ceiling is still leaking. Yes. So I added on to an air conditioning bill onto my business sorrows. So this the struggle bus has pulled into the station and it has just parked.
Jeez.
I'm trying to take it all with a smile, but it's a lot. And Dad hasn't slept in 2 days.
He just carrying on without sleeping.
Yeah, I can get him. Well, I get him. He'll fall asleep in his chair, and I'll go in and I'll wake him up. And he goes, "No, I'm fine. I was just watching. You know how dads do, the remote control in their hand. He does it in front of the computer, and so I'll get him to lay down. He'll lay down for maybe half an hour, and then he wakes up and goes, "Oh, it must be morning."
Huh.
And that's how it goes. Hold on a second. Let me close that a little bit. So there will be probably tonight or tomorrow he will lay down and he'll sleep for about 12 hours. But then he'll lose a little cognition when he wakes up. So when he stays awake for a long time, to me it signals that he's going to take some damage. A little more damage every day, every time. I seem to be adding more to my plate and not getting anything off it. I would like to get something off my plate, but it's all right. It's all right. I'm slightly high. I'm fairly high. I just had a giant bowl of coffee ice cream and 2 little bags
Sweet.
of Doritos. So I have appeased the cannabis demons, at least temporarily. So that's how I am. How are you?
Well, other than slow internet and working 9 to 5, I should not complain about a thing. Frankly, not a thing.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't in general, but when there's a camera pointed at you and we need something to talk about, that is the time to complain.
Well, let's see what I can complain about.
Because you have TikTokers that go, "Oh, my world is perfect," and they take the perfect shot with the hand holding and the beach behind them, and
No,
this ain't that.
I was going to say, what I was going to say was, chicks, man.
Chicks, man. Chicks be hypergamous. Yes. Chicks, man. Been watching a lot of those too.
I may have figured out a possible explanation for I don't want to. I don't want to say what the explanation is for. I just want to. I want to run you through my line of reasoning real quick, and then see if, by any slight chance, you land where I landed.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm down. I'm down. Do it.
Titanic. When the Titanic sank, they did their utmost to put the women and children on the lifeboats, and the men fended for themselves. Right?
Yes. As the story goes.
In dire situations of total survival, it is usually save the women and children, and if there's any survival left after you've divvied up all the survival, if there's any left for the men, they just kind of divvy it up as best they can. Draw straws, however it works out. But
patriarchy, right? Patriarchy.
Yeah. For the most part, it would appear, and some people would argue against this. I'm not one of those people, but some people would argue against it. That the male could be considered almost disposable, right?
At every turn.
Now, by virtue of the disposability of the male, there's some men's clubs, some men's spaces, as it were, men's spaces that, for all intents and purposes, aren't really open to women. They traditionally have not been open to women, and I would suggest that it's very possible that to some degree, some females, more of the women's liberal feminist persuasion, try to insert themselves in some of these men's spaces. But here we go. Here's where the logic hits. When we're talking about the Titanic specifically, because that one's, not terribly old, 110 years, wasn't it, roughly?
Ish.
Yeah. By comparison, not terribly old. When we're talking about that, if you were to see the lifeboats, right, and they're chock full of women and children, except for one man who said, "I'm going to freaking save myself, by damn it! I'm going to get in this lifeboat, and I don't care if I displace 2 women and 2 children or whatever it might be. If they're out of the boat, I don't give a damn. I'm surviving in this boat because I'm a man. I'm muscular enough to hold my place. I'm doing that."
Yeah.
If you were to see that situation from the deck of the sinking Titanic as a male, and you look at that and you're like going, "Oh, I'm embarrassed for that guy." Would you feel shame for the guy? Would you be embarrassed on behalf of your gender for that guy in the boat?
I think I would. Part of me would, just because it wasn't me. So to be realistic, I would have several thoughts or feelings. I would have all the feelings. If I saw a guy on a boat full of women, well, that's a billionaire's life, right? It's a guy with a bunch of women on his boat.
But this is a survival situation, not a yacht.
A survival situation. Yeah. He's going to live, and I'm probably going to die in that situation.
Women, right, and so are the women and children, however many there were, that he displaced.
Right.
Does any of your thought turn to them in terms of doing what they can do doing what you could do to help them survive? If there was anything you could
I've never been in that situation. I don't think I can answer it, and I don't think I would be as chivalrous as I would want to say that I would be.
Is it safe to say at least that you would not be displacing a woman and a child to get on the boat yourself? You would not. That's not something you would do. Am I right?
I probably would not.
Yeah.
And
I doubt that I would either.
By it.
And if I felt super compelled by panic or whatever it was to get on that boat and displace a woman or a child, I would feel extraordinary shame even while I was surviving. I'd probably feel enough shame that after I survived, I'd probably end it all, because how can you live with that kind of shame?
If you had shame, there's a lot of people that just either don't experience it. Yes. We might see a few of those on TV here and there. One of them might run for office and become president.
Wait a minute. You're going exactly where I was going to land. You almost landed precisely where I was going to land. So here's where I'm going with that. The same kind of shame. Let's take it a step. Let's take it now a step further. Let's say that in order to get on that boat, I was just hell bent on surviving, and in order to get on that boat, I was going to dress in drag. But I'm one of the women.
Sure.
Now I'm going to survive. I would still have to feel the shame, right? Wouldn't I? I think I would.
Guilt, maybe some survivor's guilt.
And if any men were looking on the deck of the Titanic and saw me there and realized what I was doing, and I didn't pass for whatever reason, would they not also be like, what the effing hell? You're going to displace a woman and a child, and you're gonna demanify yourself and dress in a dress just to save yourself? That is some effed up
It would only be because they weren't clever enough to think of it themselves.
Oh no. I would wager that
there are some manly men. Sure, there's manly men that would.
That's who we're talking about.
Right.
We're talking about the kind of manly men that would be judgmental of somebody who is trans already anyway, right? Those guys.
Oh, is that where we're going?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's not exactly where we're going. I'm just trying to drive the point home.
Okay.
You see, the thing is that there are some men's spaces, and let me give you an idea of one of those men's spaces. Let's say we're talking about a sewer. A sewer is an important part of infrastructure. Super important part of infrastructure. It's mission critical. Do you want to see a woman working in the sewer?
This is the phrase "only Sith deal in extremes or in absolutes."
Yeah.
Continuously comes to mind when I talk to you, because you try and box it into a decision or a right or wrong or an absolute answer.
And that's okay.
The
for
truth
you to feel that way
is,
too.
there are almost 9 billion people on the planet. I'm not worried about humans going extinct because we let women go in the sewers to work.
Because we got a little bit careless with the eggs.
Yes, there are plenty of us, and for me, it has kind of almost switched off a lot of chivalry. I still, of course, open the door and do the whole thing when I'm out in public, because that's how I've been trained. But am I concerned that women working in sewers is going to be the downfall of society? I don't care. There's men that are extremely weak. There are men that are in wheelchairs. Do I think they should have work? Of course. Are they as strong as other men? No. So they have to do jobs that they are able to. Since we don't have robots that can do stuff yet, even a weak woman or a half-paralyzed man is still more functional than an android or AI is at the moment. And we still need all these positions filled and working. And if there's a position that a woman can do in a sewer, or someone in a wheelchair, a man or woman, can do behind a computer, I'm fine with it.
Let's assume
if it's a mission critical thing, if you're like SEAL Team Sewer, probably not. Probably if you're a Ninja Turtle, there shouldn't be female Ninja Turtles, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of jobs, specifically jobs, ones that are particularly dirty, where you're just going, no, please God, no. If you're a female wanting to actually do that job for whatever godforsaken reason, please let me try to talk you out of it, because it's just not a good place for you. Can you think of jobs that are like that? So like working in a sewer.
Would you think it's not a place for women?
Mostly because, well, there's the eggs thing, first of all, but even more than that, it has to do with an estrogen-based creature being able to pursue her estrogen biological imperative, which is to be floaty and butterfly-y and just doing the little estrogen thing.
I think that's where the whole manosphere falls apart for me.
Is it the
I don't think
manosphere, or are we talking about society?
The trad wife type thing, the allow or have women just be floaty little women and reproduce and flickering, and there's no such thing as any woman that wants to do a real job or a hard job has got to be a result of a trauma or a manipulation by society forcing her to do the manly job. Is that the kind of argument?
No, I wasn't going to suggest that at all. I'm not really. I don't know that I would delve into the reason why a chick wants to do the manly job. And for whatever reason, I might consider it a mental illness, but I'm not going to be the one to say, oh, you have to go to talk therapy. I'm certainly not going to do that.
I think there's ranges. I think there's feminine women that don't like the ick. There's feminine men that don't like the ick.
Sure. It takes a special person to want to do the really dirty jobs.
Right. And it really has nothing to do with whether you have testicles or not, I think. And I think part of the problems that we're facing in Western America right now is the idea that there's male jobs and female jobs. Just like there's male colors and female colors.
I would suggest that there are jobs that are suited for people that are physically stronger.
Yes.
And there's probably jobs that are suited for people that are more creative-minded. And there's going to be also jobs that are suited for people with very logically oriented minds. And,
right. And none of those have really anything to do with testicles. They're trends. There are trends. You could do statistics. Statistics are valuable when you have a group of people, but no individual is a statistical average person. There's no average person. There's only average groups.
True. I would suggest, though, that the hormones could definitely play a part in somebody's ability to perform in whatever job they chose.
Yes.
Hormones can play a part. And if you just want to have examples, I can give them to you. But for the most part, I would say estrogen is not really angled to do math. And I would suggest that to a large degree, logic isn't really angled to do art. And I would probably go further and suggest that testosterone is very useful to have if you're going to do super physically demanding work. And
I agree with that one.
Estrogen is probably pretty handy to have if you were going to do child rearing work. Again, there's exceptions to all of it.
Right.
But could you think of any job at all where you're just going, I personally just don't want to see a woman in that job. And cleaning out the sewers is one of those jobs. It's not because I'm trying to be misogynist. God knows I can't be. I cannot
no,
be.
No. You totally can be. You totally can be.
You think I think
absolutely. There are a lot of self-hating women. There's a lot of women that hate women. There's a lot of men that hate other men. Okay, so I don't think being misogynist is a representation of testicles either.
Interesting idea.
Or vagina. So
you're saying that a woman who hates women.
That's like saying a black person can't be racist. Of course, a black person can be racist. There's black people that are racist against darker black people.
Well, that may just be then the ultimate crux of where we land on this thing. I might be a misogynist.
Yes. I don't know why you had that question. I'm sorry. I don't want to be rude. But you're no, God, no. Maybe there might be something to that. Sexist.
Is there a word for somebody that is in denial of homosexuality, as in they don't believe it exists? Is there a word for that? Maybe we can put out a little internet call for anybody that happens to see this video. Is there a word for somebody that does not believe in homosexuality?
A
A homo,
fundamentalist Christian.
a homo denier.
Fundamentalist Christians.
No, no,
Because God doesn't make any mistakes. So what they're doing is sinning against God. They're rebelling against God. They're not gay.
but
They
wouldn't
can
they call
choose to be differently, right? I
wouldn't
don't
they
want to
just
get this banned for hate speech. This is sarcasm. Sarcasm. I'm being dark sarcasm by stating what I've heard Christian fundamentalists say
God, I
is
hope
that
that
people
works.
aren't gay. Yeah, they say, I've heard them say that there are no gay people. It's that they're
Oh.
choosing to sin against or rebel against God.
But wouldn't they call the behavior of doing that particular sin against God, wouldn't they call that homosexual?
No, they call that sodomy.
Oh, 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 oh.
They have a
Well,
totally different language for it. Yeah.
huh.
Oh no, that is Christian Sharia is what you're describing. Yeah, people that think that gay people don't exist, and if you behave like that, they kill you. Christian Sharia. Yeah. Yeah, we've been dealing with that for a couple thousand years, and I'm really shocked that you're just discovering this.
I
That's
just
kind of funny.
wondered. I was kind of hoping to find an official word for that particular.
I mean, like Schadenfreude or something, a specific German
Yeah,
word for something weird. Uh,
or French, or American.
yeah, not American. There's no American words for anything. The people that like the flat earther of homosexuality. They don't believe in spheres. I think it's just Christian fundamentalists. I think they just. If only there was a computer in front of me.
So funny. How could people not believe in
Word
spheres?
for people that
Look at the
don't
chest of any chick. You see
believe
spheres.
gay people exist. Because I don't know if you remember this. Putin says that there are no gay people in Russia.
No gay people in Russia.
There's a couple of Middle East imams that say the same thing.
I could totally believe it.
Homophobia comes up. Homophobia inside the hate gays, glossary resource, general definitions.
I mean, I've heard it said that in Russia, you don't say anything about Russia. In Russia, Russia says things about you.
It says things about me.
It's a play on that whole thing. In Russia, you don't throw rocks in Russia. Rocks throw
Yeah,
you.
Russia throws. Yeah.
In Russia, you don't say anything about Russia. In Russia,
Yeah.
Russia
I
says
think
things about you.
I, th- I think I couldn't find a word. It was all just homophobia. But that doesn't quite fit either. You can't be afraid of something that you think actually doesn't exist. Well, actually, I am. I'm kind of afraid of zombies, and I know they don't exist. And
Well,
demons and evil spirits, that shit scares the hell out of me. And I know it's not real, but boy, does it trigger my imagination at like the brainstem level of creepiness. I just don't like it. Don't like scary movies. I will dwell on it and not have a good night's sleep.
yeah, I've
But yeah,
never really did the scary movie thing either. That's
don't. I was into it for a while. Then you get older and you've had some traumatic experiences and it's like, I don't need to watch that. I've got my own tragedies to deal with. I don't need any more. And the anxiety creeps up and yeah, there's already enough scary stuff going on. And then you get into politics. Who needs horror movies when you watch the news?
Well, that is honestly, to the honest degree, that was where I was going to land on that whole dirty jobs thing. I see politics as one of the dirtiest jobs of all, and this could be just the misogynist in me speaking, but I think I've come to the conclusion that I don't like to see women in politics.
Do you think they shouldn't be represented?
Oh, I definitely think they should be represented,
And you think
but
men should
they
be
should.
the only ones to represent women?
It's a dirty job. It's like saying, should a woman have to
Who
clean out
cares?
her own toilet? No.
She has to change diapers?
Oh, diapers are cute and squishy, and they don't smell all that bad. Oh, adult diapers are a different story.
Ooh, you are wrong. How? I've changed a lot of diapers. They can be stinky. It can be gross.
I know. I've changed a lot of baby diapers myself. I've,
Yeah,
10 kids in the family. Yeah, I'm in the middle. I got to change some diapers.
feminine does not mean not gross. feminine, I could argue that it could deal with more gross. They bleed every month out of their crotch.
That's not something I would consider gross, but okay.
It's considered a sin by,
I don't.
in
I
fact,
don't.
it's
I
so
certainly
gross.
don't.
It's considered so gross by some groups that they have built separate housing that they made women on their period go to get away from them
Well, I
until
don't
they're
know
off
if
their period.
that's just crazy. I don't know what to say about that. That's stupid. But
Religious,
gross.
religious fundamentalism.
Yeah, gross is human raw sewage. That's gross. Oh, and dangerous.
Yes. Okay. So is sleeping with a man.
Is that as dangerous as human raw sewage?
I would
Of
say in
course,
some cases it's the same.
not my cup of tea either. But when I say human raw sewage, I'm not talking about raw sewage coming out of just a single human. I'm talking about when
Right.
the whole entire
Right.
neighborhood or city gets together, because that's when it gets together and really makes. Why are we talking about? Oh my God!
I don't know why you're trying to go. No. I mean, it's grosser than gross. Grosser. It's so gross that it can't be grosser. Therefore, girls don't do it. Is essentially the argument I'm hearing. Super gross.
Yeah, I like it.
So girls can't be gross because I judge girls differently than boys on a fundamental gross level, on their gross meter and their ability to deal with gross. Women can't do it because they're the weaker, fairer sex that are butterflies and should only think of happiness and joy and take care of babies and be barefoot in the kitchen making you a sandwich.
Well, you've
Now,
almost steel-manned my argument, but then you took it a little on the far side. But that's okay.
right.
You
I was
did good.
taking it to the rest of the extreme that you're not saying.
Yeah, no, I don't. I wouldn't say that, only because women would still ultimately have a choice. They have the choice about what flower they want to
Only
go to.
because they
all
fought
that.
for it.
Okay, there's some accuracy to that I'll grant.
Yeah. I'm not. I have been with amazing women, very feminine women, very masculine women. They're all great women. And I think they were all capable of doing what they were good at doing, what they had the temperament for doing. Not everyone can be an entertainer. Not everyone can be a business person or a manager. There's not everybody. I know a lot of women that were cooks. Not a lot of people can. I know everybody says the trope is women should be in the kitchen. Man, I've worked the kitchen for a long time. I did a lot of kitchen work. It is grueling. You get fucked up from kitchen work. I still have scars, burn scars from working in the kitchen. Are women more attractive when they have burn scars from cooking? I don't see. I do agree. I'm just being anti-you at the moment, but I do agree that there are some spaces that probably men should be able to have alone, and there are spaces that women should be able to have alone or just segregated in order to relate their experiences. But it doesn't really work with men like it does with women. And I think because there's sexist, there's misogynist, and then we're just plain different. Testosterone is different than estrogen. Generally,
Spoken like
you
a true
can get a large group of women, and they build stuff. They make, they stitch. They do all the female stuff when females get in groups, or they teach children in school settings, or that kind of thing. You get a large group of men together alone for any length of time, they start catching things on fire and designing weapons and scheming, and they do the whole testosterone thing. So it's not, groups of men are not equal to groups of women. I'm going to grant that, but I don't think there are necessarily female jobs or male jobs. I don't think there should be women sewer seals, the Navy SEALs, the extreme where they're dropping you in by air and you need each one of them to be able to carry two guys out onto the boat by themselves. A woman can't do that. But can a woman sit in a sniper's nest? and patiently, do just kind of look around and smell the flowers and then murder whoever pops their head up, I think they're perfectly capable of doing that. Can they fly drones? Sure, there's no physical reason why they couldn't. In fact, they're probably better at it because they don't get distracted by the testosterone. I know putting up a ceiling fan, I can feel my testosterone getting away with my patients. Because I will punch a ceiling. But I don't think there's anything too gross for women. I think there's things that are just too gross for people. There shouldn't be people doing it. In fact, I had one of those jobs as a painter, as a journeyman painter. I don't think human beings should do that job. In fact, they largely don't anymore. I was sick as a dog by the time I moved out of Oregon and moved to Utah. Whew. My brain was already scar tissue from all the paint thinner and the lead in the paint at this time. The red I was painting still had lead in it. So,
thank God.
Yeah, I don't see something that's too masculine for women to do, but I do see that at the extremes, at the edges where you need strength, you would have to be an exceptional woman, and there are those. But you'd also have to be an exceptional man, because you couldn't have a weak man do that. There's a lot of weak men.
Sure.
I don't know what the point was of all that.
The place that I was landed was to discover that I truly am
politics.
misogynist. Mostly because
yes.
I don't like to see women in politics. I think I've just come to that fundamental conclusion. I don't like it. And I feel bad for the women that want to get involved because I know that they are compromising their magic by doing that. And it's their choice. I shouldn't just sit there and say, I feel, you know what I think it is? I would probably see it as mental illness. That a woman wants to be involved in a man's space, or that a woman wants to be involved in a nasty, nasty job, or that a woman wants to be involved in the nastiest of all jobs, which is politics.
Boy, you are not going to be popular.
I'm already not popular. But
you are.
Bring it on.
You are the one thing. One of the things I would respond to in that is your what are they? A call to mysticism. Women's magic. Man, I've seen the inside of women. There's no magic there. It's not magic.
Right. I don't want to suggest that I'm talking about.
But you're using
magic.
The term,
yeah.
And you're using the. I'm super high, so I've lost words. The euphemism, the aura of magic, which is your personal experience. The magic you feel in women is your personal experience. I promise you, I don't see as much magic in women as you do. They are amazing. They are human beings, and they are another half of our species. Magic? Only because hormones tell me, and then it's hormones, it's not magic. It's just something inside my brain telling me. Yeah, not magic.
It's again, I'm not talking about real magic because I don't believe in real magic. But
I know, but you're talking about the idea of it, the experience of it,
let me be more
feeling.
Pragmatic about it. Let me be more pragmatic. We know, you know directly from experience, and we know from other studies that have been done, that a person, any given individual, regardless of their gender or sex, testosterone-based or estrogen-based, can augment to some degree their personal body chemistry by actions that they take. If I want to produce testosterone in my body, all I have to do is this. I hold this pose and just kind of move around, being wide like that. It's going to produce a certain amount, probably, albeit at this point in my life, very small, but still, it's going to produce testosterone.
You can also just inject it into you.
Yes, that's a lot easier. I can bring my body in super tight and close like this, and I can even possibly meditate on some close-in things, and I can cut testosterone production down to close to nothing, and maybe even possibly, even though I'm not an estrogen-based creature, maybe just possibly produce a little bit more estrogen by doing those two different things. There's things that people
Or you
can
could eat
do.
a lot of bread.
Or that. Now, what I'm suggesting is that
body fat produces estrogen.
oh, that's brilliant. I had a
Or
bunch of bread
adipose, I should
last
say
night.
the belly fat, the icky fat produces estrogen.
Yes, and I'm glad that it does. So there are actions that a woman can take. I should say there are actions that an estrogen-based creature can take that are going to minimize her own estrogen production and, in a lot of cases, maximize her testosterone production. And if they want to take those actions on purpose, that's when I start to feel a little bit bad for them, because doing that is going to lead to physical changes. It's going to lead to, it might not be the ultimate thing. Maybe they still have plenty of ass, who knows? But it is going to lead to an extreme, to the extreme of, no, that's all. It's going to lead to the extreme of facial hair. It's going to lead to the extreme of hair thinning. And you can see this occur, especially in women that are old enough to have been through menopause and already had some change in terms of their hormone levels. And then they take on these actions as well.
All roads lead there, Paul. All roads.
Okay, yes, but the question is how long can we stave it off? let's try not to get there like tomorrow. Let's try to get there.
Right, then no one should go into politics. Have you seen what happens to men that go into politics?
Woo!
Have you seen president's hair? So it's not a male or female thing. As the misogyny has always weirded me out with you. I think that's one of the things I've always known was there, and that's one of the things I was trying to kind of suss out in my memories. Because if you remember, I kind of, in acknowledging that you were trans when I met you and how you acted like a man, you acted like a woman trying to act like a man, which is over the top misogyny. And now you're telling me that you have incorporated that misogyny into your person and not just made it part of your persona.
It certainly could be something that's manifest in some personal beliefs and values. And you know better than anybody, truly, that I am always open to changing personal beliefs and values when they're challenged with some good, awesome, logical arguments that are, done. But nobody's really been able to sell me on it. I look at the stock market, just the stock market. I look at companies that are publicly traded, and never in the history of the stock market has the stock from a company gone up immediately after the adoption of a female CEO. It always goes down every time. Now, they can go through recovery, but that takes time. But initially, it's like money in the bank. If you short a stock when they take on the female CEO, you're gonna make money because it has always gone down. Why? What is it about women in business that just shreds the confidence in shareholders? There's a lot of women that would chalk that up to boys club. Oh, the boys club don't want any women CEOs, so they're just going to sell the stock and they don't give a damn. But that's not what it is. We're talking an amalgamation. The market is. The market just is. And the market says, you bring on a women CEO, you're going to drop.
Right.
And sometimes
I think you're conflating the market, or you're suggesting that the market is separate from humanity. That the market just is this magic thing, and men being testosterone based and more assertive, who are generally more in business and in control of business, and a lot of those, the most assertive ones, tend to be sociopaths, for one.
Right.
But just generally more aggressive, over-the-top aggressive. And now you're suggesting that a market consisting of generally overly aggressive sociopathic men might be adverse to a woman coming into business. That's so weird. I don't know how you could derive that.
I don't think that the market is made up of mostly sociopathic men. The market just is
men aggressive. Mostly aggressive testosterone-based men because they're aggressive and they want to provide, so they're pushed. They're pushed generally. I generally agree with your positions. It's just the Sith definition of it, that it can only be this way because women are women and men are men. And that's, the universe is not so simpleton driven. The universe is super complex.
You don't feel like my position in women is nuanced enough? I mean,
I would suggest capitalism and business and monkeys' reaction to it is not nuanced enough to incorporate the realities of the universe. I would kind of lean that way. But yeah, you're describing a system where, of course, most businesses that are owned by men, because that's where we find ourselves, are unhappy when a woman who they don't necessarily vibe with, or they have different ideas, because the whole reason to have a woman in charge of something would be to have it different than men, right? You'd want something different.
I suppose. I think most of the time when women hit the point of CEO, it's just because they've gotten results throughout their life.
There's going to be that too, sure. I think it's complicated, and I think where we find ourselves now in generally, and it's changing. It is changing. Generally, a male-dominated business structure that has been also dominated by male graduates, male mathematicians. But like I said, that's changing. It's now like 60% women graduating from college versus men. So I could argue that in 50 years, when all the women that are graduating now have had kids, or let's say the women that are in college now, in 10 years, that it's going to be a majority of women-owned businesses, and then stocks will normalize because mostly women own it. And then when a misogynistic, aggressive man gets into business, that stock drops because everybody's used to the control of women. I think a lot of the knee-jerk and a lot of the opinions is the societal programming. It's just what we've always known because we haven't existed anywhere else. I think changing the whole fundamentals as we are with initiatives, college initiatives, feminism taking power, I think is going to shift, and that's either going to work or it's not. I know,
if
like
it were
Manosphere,
a stock, I would not buy it.
That's
if feminism were a stock, I would not buy that.
Right. Well, see, the other problem is using the stock market and money and capitalism as you do. It works for money. It doesn't work for values. It doesn't work for human values. I don't get paid anything to take care of my father in his old age. Capitalism does not value it. I don't have a stock. Raising a child to be intelligent, well-behaved, disciplined, taking time to raise a child, nobody's paying shit for that. Capitalism doesn't give a fuck. It doesn't make a profit. So the majority, taking care of family, raising children, the two, I would argue, most important fucking things to humanity, the stock market sees absolutely no value in it. Right. And then your basic capitalism is basing its value, it's the importance of what humans are based on things that it can profit from. And it's going in a direction that is inhuman. And so anything you're going to compare or say the market has some opinion on, it's clearly not an opinion on humanity because it doesn't give a fuck. It just is, as you say. And and that's why I'm a socialist, or I call myself a socialist, whatever I believe, humanity first, which I also don't believe is going to happen. I don't believe anything. We've already chosen our path. We've gone down the conservative. Everybody should have a gun and shoot everybody else. We're going to go head first into AI. We're going to make it. It's going to control everything. There's no stopping this train wreck. I don't like it.
So
I'm
so let me
trying
ask you a
to
question.
enjoy it, but I don't.
When do you think the train went off the rails and became this inevitable train wreck thing? At what point in history do you
The
think that occurred?
moment we discovered fire.
Oh, come on. There's been progress
No.
since fire.
Right. I think that is where we went off the rails. If you're going to say
Progress?
what could we have done to stop this train wreck? We are the train wreck. Intelligence is the train wreck. Progress is the train wreck. There's no
What's the metric for thriving then? What's the metric for individual thriving?
made the fuck up. It's made the fuck up. Whatever you want it to be.
Well, then why don't we sell everything and go live in the bush?
Because we don't want to. Well, we want to live in the bush, but we don't want to give everything up. Because this shit's cool.
I like the bush.
Yeah.
So
We like progress because we're intelligent. We have. I mean, you could. Did you go away? You went away. Wait for it. Uh-oh. Now you're three. Now you've got a bunch of you.
I don't know why that crapped out.
Okay. I still see you, sort of.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you. We can still sally forth if you like. Let me.
Sweet. I've got a few more minutes, and I'm trying to get to this notion of where what's the metric for human thriving.
It's going to be different for everybody at different times.
It'll depend on the individual.
We have intelligence. We have the ability to manipulate our environment, and we have curiosity and a desire to not be uncomfortable. We want to be more comfortable. We will use our intelligence. We will use our intelligence to make ourselves more comfortable. Did the question of what is thriving come up in that sentence or in that sequence? No. We have intelligence. We have the ability to manipulate the environment, and we try to avoid being uncomfortable. And we will invent stuff to make us make us more comfortable.
So what's the metric then for the train wreck? How do we measure the train wreck and how it started at the point of fire and whatnot? What's the metric for the train crash? How do we know that's happening, or can we plot the end of it? When did we see it, or did we see it immediately upon the invention of fire? Although we fire.
I suppose I would have to clarify. We're not. Yeah, we're not discussing an evolutionary dead end. So we're not discussing how Tyrannosaurus Rex was thriving, right? Because they ended. There are almost every species that has ever existed has gone extinct. We're talking about some point they thrived. Dead end? An evolutionary dead end.
Oh, we are talking about an evolutionary dead end.
When species in the past, the troglodyte, what are those? I'm going to call them troglodytes. The little shells.
Oh, the
little shells. Yeah, the whatever those little shell things that are in the rocks that you pound open. Troglodytes.
Yeah.
Triglycerides. Whatever that shit is. They are extinct, right? At one point they thrived. Where did their train wreck start that they went extinct? Well, it's the wrong question in my mind. We should, and we do want to, because we're intelligent and we have a consciousness now that can be above our evolutionary drives and question the story. We can now question the story. And once you can do that, you can get things like the market and go, what's the market telling us? The market's telling us something false or something we want to hear. Or something that doesn't apply to humanity, or it applies to humanity in a general sociopathic way. And you could have a business, a billionaire thriving, and the rest of humanity burning. But boy, that billionaire's got a lot of stuff. So you can't, the metric of how to measure how we're thriving, I would suggest you not look at the market and look at what humanity needs to survive. And it's not the market. We didn't have the market for millions and millions and millions and millions of years. We thrived. But we find ourselves today, right? It is today. I can't go back a time a million years. In fact, I wouldn't go back in time. I wouldn't even go back before MP3s. I just wouldn't do, or I wouldn't go back before the cure to cancer that I've got. So for me, thriving is not dying from a disease that we used to, having good relationships with my family, being able to take care of my father, having just fitting in and not being murdered by the masses yet until I upload this video. But that's not, not everybody's going to consider that thriving. Some people only think that they're thriving if they have a yacht and they've got a hooker sucking their cock off the end of the diving board, and they've got a cell phone and a bottle of whatever expensive bullshit in the other hand. There's a lot of people that are traumatized that think thriving is differently. There's a lot of economists that only look at the economy and the market and go, gosh, if the market's down, we're not thriving. Doesn't matter what people are experiencing, it's the market. So what metric do you want to go by to decide how humans are thriving?
Well, quite frankly, I think you nailed it with family and that sort of thing, and I'm with you on that. Clearly, and I hope you know this, there's no amount of wealth that I'd be totally happy with if it meant that I wasn't able to bring those closest to me, the people that I value the most, along with me. So if it was yes, you can be a multi-billionaire, but you're going to have a whole new set of friends, and you're going to forget about Sean and everybody else over here. That's a no-break. That's a no deal. That's a deal breaker. That's a no deal. So I would rather be broke and living in the bush with you. But obviously, there's a certain amount of medical tech that we want to be able to have at our disposal, and that means a certain amount of, quite frankly, a certain amount of livelihood that's going to just be absolutely mission critical, necessary. A certain amount of livelihood that's going to be necessary. And what that amount of livelihood is I don't know, but I've got a feeling that I'm not making it yet. I'm not making that livelihood yet.
I would be right there with you, but at the same time, what I keep in my head, or try to, it doesn't help much because I'm living here, is there are people living with dirt floors and malaria and bugs eating out their eyeballs. And so in comparison, I'm living a great life. I'm living a better life now than 99.9% of all humans that have ever existed.
That thought is first in my head the second I wake up every morning. First thought I have.
But you also don't live there. We also don't live there. We live here. We woke up today in these bodies, in this time, and we didn't decide 99.99% of it. The cure for cancer, I had nothing to do with. The monitor that is here in front of me, I had nothing to do with. All the stuff around me, I got to choose, sort of. But there's a lot of choices that...
There's a lot of stuff that you feel like you inherited.
Yes. Which is fine.
That's why we take care of our parents.
Yes. No. I would be taking care of my dad, whether I had a dirt floor or not. People take care of their families on dirt floors as well. So it's not about the stuff.
No, I can totally dig where your head is on that, and I'm glad you pointed it out. But for anybody that was not sure about whether they were going to take care of their mom or whether they were going to put her in a rest home, that's the decision maker right there. So that you don't put her in a rest home.
Right, but there's also reasons for making those decisions today. There are families that are in trouble, right on the edge of disaster. If Dad wasn't making enough to pay me to be here, I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't be making enough and it's kind of like putting your own mask on first before you put your kid's mask on a plane. If you're dead, you can't help them. So the situation or making your decisions, again, the free will thing, I don't think most of us have it, and I think it doesn't exist the way that we imagine it exists without thought. I wouldn't be making these decisions if it was different. If things were different, things would be different. This is the dumbest way to say it. If I wasn't me, I would be somebody else.
You've been smoking the good stuff.
I've got they're only 10 milligrams, but I've always been kind of a lightweight. So yeah, this is me high with dual ear infections, and I don't know if I've been trying to suppress it. Antibiotics are miserable on the guts.
Yeah.
So, and I also, before getting this, because I had the munchies, a bowl of coffee ice cream and 2 bags of Doritos. So my intestines are a toxic minefield right now.
Thanks for sharing.
I'm super glad it's only... I'm super glad it's remote and only 2D, and there's no smell-o-vision yet. Yeah, and I put the green light on behind me just to cover any kind of
fog,
things
vapors.
Wafting up. Yeah, the vapors. cover the color of the vapors.
You thought of everything, man.
I'm on it. I'm a pro.
I am trying to think of any time that I have watched or listened to any podcast where somebody was talking about their gastronomic emissions. I'm not coming up with one.
Okay, I'm glad I could be the...
You could be a pioneer here. You could be a pioneer right here.
Okay, I've been looking for my niche. I haven't. Oh, are you sure you haven't been smoking? Is that how you doing?
Getting a contact high through the internet.
Yes, well, I make the good stuff.
On that note, let's call it a good cast. I don't know if you'll be able to put this together into one thing, but however you want to do it, break it up into 3. I don't give a damn. But it's been. I'm glad to end on a note where I have uncontrollable laughter. And once we hit the button on this thing, I'm probably going to go over here and laugh until I'm crying. But that's good. That's pretty damn. I don't know. Maybe nobody else will find this funny, and that'll be just fine if that's the case. But
it's for us. I'm trying to just make it about us. It's clear that nobody's watching these. At some point in the future, AI might find it interesting, or if capitalism loses its chokehold and YouTube goes back to the way it used to be before money was the main issue on it, maybe we would. My videos used to get several hundred in like a week, and now 4. So yeah, it's just for us.
Well, anyway, love you, man, and adios to everybody out there not watching. Have a great day, man. We'll see you in a bit.
Bye.